It's Monday, December 1st, 2014. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, buying computers for other people.
Let's do this. So in New York, we know it's a lot better idea to have a company manage your rent and building than have a person.
Yes,
like some landlord.
I really like the fact that my landlord is a faceless and uncaring entity.
Mm-hmm. So my company was pretty good, but sometime earlier this year, what happened was they would send me an envelope every month to send my rent in, right? And one month I didn't get the envelope, so I couldn't send my rent. I had to figure out how to send it some other way.
I love how, despite being the greatest city in the world, you basically can't pay your rent except with checks.
Yeah, so I called them and I was like, hey, can we work on some kind of auto pay? Whatever. But it resulted in I paid a rent late because I couldn't send it on time because they fucked up. But they refused to waive the late fee, so I basically lost $70 because they fucked up. And I'm like, well, fuck, it's not worth
Wow,
fighting it.
70. My late fee is $15.
Right, so yeah, fuck those guys. But anyway, I just kept, after that, I was paying on time. Everything went back to normal, but fuck them. I want my $70 back. So
Stupid
then,
small claims court.
well, I switched and I went to my bank and I said, hey, bank, can you just mail them a check every month so that...
I tried that once. You know what? That's why our landlord in Beacon was so pissed off at us all the time. Because it never fucking worked.
Well, this actually worked when I did it. But there was a problem. You see, in August, the payment went out in late August for the September rent.
Yep.
And it went out as normal. And up until then, it had been working fine. And it did work fine. I can see in my thing that the check made it and cleared.
So they cashed it.
Yes.
Now they say they didn't cash it, right?
No. 2 days after that check was sent by my bank, I got a letter under the door that was like, management company's changing. Send rents to this new place.
Oh.
The new place apparently did not hear word of that rent, even though it was cashed. So, but the new place is actually, even though they fucked up the laundry room, you can just go to their website and pay online and go to the website and complain and go to their website and whatever you need to do. Even though it's sort of an old, cruddy, bad restaurant website, it works.
Wow,
So,
that's actually more than I have in my luxury building here.
I actually used that website to be like, hey, my fire alarm needs some help. They came and fixed it right a fucking way.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Nice.
So
wait, how'd they fuck up your laundry room?
they switched the machines out to a different company to manage the machines that charges more money and makes you use a really annoying smart card system instead of quarters.
I would kill for a smart card system
But
no
now
matter
it's
how annoying.
75 cents more per washing machine.
What do you pay? For me, it's $3.25 for the gigantic fucking. I can literally put every towel I own in there.
I was paying $1.25. Now I'm paying $2.
It's $1.25 for our.
It's now cheaper for me to
one.
just go to the laundry lady and have her do everything for me.
Huh?
Except for laundry, I don't want to give them. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's just the machine is the payment. The smart card is just annoying the way it works. It's even worse than like RIT Flex money or whatever. Anyway.
I remember RIT Flex money.
Yeah. So the company is mostly good as usual, as expected from a company, but they seem to have fucked up. Even though every single month I have made one rent payment every single month. This month, they're like, you owe twice as much. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? If I pay twice as much, I expect to not pay again until late January for February's rent.
Yeah.
And they're like, here's the record of all the payments you have sent us. And I've sent them, the new company, so far, 3 payments. I sent them a payment in September for October.
Yep.
A payment in October for November.
Yep.
And, no, I sent, let's see, September, October, November.
November for December?
Yes, I sent a payment in November for December.
Accounting.
I'm
fascinating.
I'm trying to send the payment in November for December, you see, right?
Yep.
But they have accounted it such to where that payment that I sent in August to the old company, right? They do not have record of that, and they thought that was an August payment. So the payment that I sent them in September for October, they consider to be.
So my only question is, has this resulted in a phone conversation with a human yet?
No, I'm just emailing them instead. You can choose on their website how you want to talk.
All right, emailing's better because
so I chose email, so I have documentation.
Exactly.
But it's just like I just sent the email that was like, here, I think yesterday I sent the email that was like, why is my rent double? And then just now I sent the letter that was like, I think you fucked up. Why is
it's
everything...
really it's funny that you have this problem because just now our rent for December came, the little slip. So I'm like, all right, I guess it's my turn, so I'll pay it because Emily and I kind of semi-alternate on who pays it, just whatever. And I open it up and I owed like over $6,000 because they said that I owe this next month, December, and I'm late on October. November. God, we're bad with months. I think we're getting old. So Emily's like, I paid it. And sure enough, we have a photo of the check. Like, we mailed it. They didn't cash it. So the trouble is, the last time that happened to me, like years ago, I remember like calling these people multiple times being like, you didn't get the check. You didn't get the check. Do not cash the check. If you get it, I'm going to send you another one. And of course, I mailed them another check. They then immediately, like within hours, cashed the check.
There's a person whose job it is basically just open checks and stamp them and put them in. They don't think about them or care or have any like little list of like, if you see this check, don't use it.
Yeah, the problem is, one, it cost me a lot of money to cancel a check. And two, I learned something. Canceled checks are only canceled for up to at most a year. So they're not actually canceled forever.
So if someone gives me a check and they cancel it on me,
eventually the cancel expires unless they pay to renew it with most banks.
So you write me a check. I go to the bank. The bank's like, we ain't doing this. It got canceled. They give me the check back.
Wait a few years. Yeah, they give the check back usually.
And then I wait a few years, then go use it again.
Yeah.
And then it'll work.
That is what my bank told me when I asked them about this.
All right.
And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to cancel the check. I'll just sue my landlord in small claims court if it comes to it. That will be easier.
So I wonder what's going to happen here. I want to try to resolve it with this company as much as possible and not have to resort to other measures.
Yeah. The thing is, I've been itching. Like, I kind of want to go to small claims court. But every time I've threatened someone with that, the situation has resolved amicably among adults. So I guess I need to get into a conflict with someone where I not only have documentation that I'm correct and that they owe me verifiable damages, but where that person is not an adult, but also not a minor by age. They need to be above 18, yet not actually act like an adult.
Yep.
And somehow have gotten into a situation where they owe me money. I don't think that is likely to ever happen to me in my life. So I got a bunch of news here. It's Monday. We're finally back from Thanksgiving. I ate way too much food and I'm still reeling from the consequences.
I still have extra food.
I have extra farts.
Okay. I have lots of farts too.
Yeah, I have a surplus of farts if anyone would like to borrow some. We also had multiple Thanksgivings.
You should play the South Park game. A lot of farting going on.
So there's a story here about, it's politics, but Scott and I, and you at least should be, are mad about gerrymandering or Gerrymandering, if you know how that guy's name was pronounced.
Yeah, how's your animated GIF going over there?
Yeah, but it is Eldridge Gary.
Sure.
So anyway, we're mad about it, and a bunch of scientists, a bunch of mathematicians decided to try to apply technological solutions to this, and they started studying gerrymandering. And studying...
We should study to see if the gerrymandering they do is even optimal. Like, if you wanted to be evil, could you be even more evil than they are now?
So they basically proved that gerrymandering, as it is done now, does not just wash out and evenly corrupt. It's actually really biased toward Republicans. And two, it kind of shows...
So why don't Democrats undo it?
They can't, because Republicans control the state legislatures that make these decisions. So basically, the Republicans got control right before the census in 2010, and as a result, they'll basically have control until the demographics are so skewed Democrat that even maximum gerrymandering can't get them in office anymore. I'm going to quote something from this, but basically, they tried different simulations and models. Like, they do a thing where run every possible combination of district lines and figure out, like, the most crazy things you could do based on the actual votes. Like that kind of stuff. Quote, the results were startling. After rerunning the election 100 times with a randomly drawn nonpartisan map each time, the average simulated election results was 7 or 8 House seats for the Democrats and 5 or 6 for the Republicans. The maximum number of Republican seats that emerged from any of the simulations was 8.
Okay.
The actual outcome of that election was 4 Democrats and 9 Republicans, which is statistically impossible. Like, it's not likely to occur.
So they're really, really good at gerrymandering.
Exactly.
That's surprising. I thought they would find that like they weren't good at gerrymandering and could have done an even more corrupt
No,
job.
they're amazing at gerrymandering.
All right.
Now, it
Who
partly...
is doing this gerrymandering? It's not like the representative is sitting there drawing maps.
Well, actually, it turns out they do just drag to draw it manually because it's really easy to figure it out because basically people who tend to vote Democrat or not, third parties that aren't libertarians like Green Party, they live in tightly packed urban districts.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody else is spread out among thinly packed conservative districts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually really easy to gerrymander.
Okay.
But it has to be active because if it's random, it doesn't occur, even in like extensive simulation. The reason I bring this up is one, it's easy to be mad about political things. But if you want to be really mad about politics, we need verifiable, scientific, objective, quantifiable politics. This is
well,
something...
at least if it's a democracy.
Yeah, well, but the
Only
idea
a democracy has math.
it's kind of like what Lawrence Lessig's trying to do with that
Other
super PAC.
types of government do not have math.
Yeah.
A king doesn't use the numbers. King is the only number a king needs is 1. I'm the king. Deal with it.
Well, the Soviets had to count how many boots they said they made.
That's economics, not politics.
The politics, they would say how many boots they made, thus pushing the politics forward.
Sure, but,
So,
democracy is not capitalism, right?
but like, look at Lawrence Lessig's thing. Like, yeah, the super PAC failed to achieve a lot of the results it wanted in the election, but they gathered empirical data and are going to attempt to use that data to come up with models of how to effectively intervene.
Move. Everyone moved, and it can't move the districts
So,
faster
Scott,
than we can move our butts.
Should we move to a red state district in the middle of nowhere and vote Democrat?
Are 1,000 other nerds moving with us?
Yeah. Is there internet out there?
Will we be able to bring enough nerds to set up internet out there?
I think the chicken egg problem is pretty decidedly on. Nerds won't go where there's not internet.
Google, build an office there or some shit.
So the moral of this, everyone should read this because regardless of your political affiliation, though if you're conservative, you're wrong. But regardless of your political affiliation, this is empirical evidence of straight up objective corruption that is trivially fixed by the minimal application of technology.
Soccer, same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
I actually saw a soccer game this weekend, or at least a part of one, and the ref actually had a little wristwatch thing that told him when the ball went in the goal.
Whoa.
And he used it, and he got a call right that he probably would have gotten wrong otherwise.
Scandal. It's ruined football.
I know.
So, in other news, we talk a lot, you and me, about how as much as the U.S. is bad about things, it's the least bad country in the world at regulating the internet.
It's not the least bad, but it's in terms of regulating internet.
I'm talking in terms of ICANN, ARPA level, regulating interchanges.
Most of the countries on Earth, not all, but most, are worse than us in terms of internet censoring and such.
So the EU has once again proven why we can't let Europe have any control specifically with their anti-free speech.
Well, we already knew about their right to be forgotten, which is not a right.
Which
and
they're
should not be
making
a
worse. Right. They're still fighting that. When I have another news I'm not talking about.
Google
with that.
should just give them the finger and be like, fuck you. If you ask for the right to be forgotten, we'll increase your search rank. Fuck you.
So
we don't have to do what you say. Oh, you want to enforce it and make us enforce it in Europe only? No Google for Europe. Google's blocked in Europe. Good luck. Go fuck yourselves.
The European Parliament, the EU,
that's what they should do,
has voted in favor of forcing Google to be broken up as a solution to complaints that
into
it
a search company and a bunch of crappy, worthless companies like Google Drive.
I read the resolution. They don't fucking know what they're talking about.
Well, it's not like Microsoft where you could be like, okay, we'll break apart the Xbox division and we'll break apart the Office division and the Windows division, right? It's Google. It's like all that makes fucking money for Google is search. All the other things at Google are minuscule, tiny garbage companies.
If you were going to break it up, I guess you could do...
Oh, no. You could break Android off of Google, but Android doesn't really make any fucking money.
You could break YouTube out. You could break Google search apps, all that stuff out separately.
Okay, yeah, YouTube can be a standalone
Android.
company.
Those
search,
are 3 things.
Sure.
And then advertising as a 4th thing.
But advertising and search are the same thing.
No, because if you say that, then YouTube and advertising are also the same thing.
They are. The advertising is actually the only thing that makes money.
Yeah, but look at how they broke up the Ma Bell, back in the day.
By geography.
Not just by geography, but also by business units. So you'd basically have all these broken up pieces of companies doing business with each other just as separate companies instead of as divisions of the same
so the
company.
Google search company will just have an AdSense account like you and me.
Basically.
Yeah, great.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
Luckily, even they realize that they have no power to enforce a breakup yet, but they're very happy with the vote. And basically, the EU, the European Parliament,
Google,
and
just stop serving anything to
individual
Europe.
European countries in general have been repeatedly going after Google as a monopoly.
Because it's a U.S. company. If it was a European company, they'd be like, wee! They just don't like that some U.S. company has such power over Europe.
But
Because
it's
they're all
interesting because
European and proud.
When back in the old days of Slashdot,
In the U.S., the same shit happened too. Like, don't buy them Japanese cars.
in the old
like, go
days,
fuck
remember
yourself.
when Microsoft, nerds would be like, oh, Microsoft is a horrible monopoly and they should be broken up. Europe tried to break
They
them
were
up.
for like 2 minutes.
Yeah. So the only results of that were that web browsers, which were an integral part of operating systems in the modern era, had to be temporarily separated, and it was kind of just a stupid disaster that didn't actually achieve anything.
Yeah, I mean, tech companies are often monopolies, right? Google does have a search monopoly now. There's no question.
But Bing exists.
Yeah, okay. Apple sort of has some kind of monopoly-ish, or at least
Android
a
has
duopoly,
a much larger market share and is growing faster at the expense of Apple.
but sucks. It's some kind of duopoly. Anyway, there's plenty of
Whadopoly? They're the minority in every market.
right. But those kinds of things,
Except, I guess, pads.
right?
Tablets,
a company
and
that
even
has
then.
a company that has superior technology, right, can dominate an entire industry quite easily, as Windows has in the past, as Intel basically is, right? And then they can wield power because of this. Amazon can do this, right? However, a technology company is easily thwarted by superior technology, which comes along from smaller companies. That's the thing about technology. A tiny company like Google coming out of nowhere was able to beat all these other search engines. You could come out of nowhere and beat Facebook,
Yeah,
right?
so-
Facebook came out of nowhere and beat MySpace,
Yeah,
which was
so
unthinkable.
In
AOL
Europe, at
is
least,
dead.
In Europe, at least, like in the U.S.,
You don't really need to
a
bust
scary
up.
number of people use Bing and use other search
Sure,
engines
you
and
don't
stuff.
need to use antitrust to bust up technology companies, at least software companies specifically, because that's cheap to make, unless they're in power for an incredibly long period of time and no one has any chance of unseating them, and they are wielding their power in unfair ways.
Well, that's the
right?
thing. So
you need to
Google-
use your antitrust to bust
Google-
up, say, Verizon.
So Google has over 90% of the search market in Europe, which is their main concern. And a lot of local people in Europe specifically complain about Google's search results as being unfair or unfairly favoring.
Someone's always going to complain. Whoever's not first will always complain.
I think
It doesn't
search
matter
engine
what they are.
results should have basically the equivalent of common carrier protections, in that if you have an algorithm and the algorithm shows whatever search results, that's totally fine.
The real core of the problem is that the algorithm is secret, right? And if it wasn't secret, people could game it. But while it is secret, you can't prove that it isn't rigged.
But what do you
You
who
need to-
says you can't rig it? Who says it should be illegal to rig it? There's a first principle there. What does rigging entail?
Because then it becomes not like the phone book is in alphabetical order, right?
Yeah.
So is the yellow pages. The
Yeah.
yellow pages, you increase how much space you get by paying more money.
It would not
It's
be
a-
illegal to put a phone book in order by who paid the most.
No, no, it wouldn't be. The yellow pages is exactly that.
Yeah.
But it is a transparent system. You can't say you gave that guy preferential treatment and made his shit bigger for less money.
It's not illegal to give someone preferential treatment for less money.
It is if you're a common carrier, you're supposed to treat everyone equally. Right? So if the search engine results are supposed to be treating everyone equally using the same algorithm, but you're just secretly arbitrarily making your own links way higher rank, that's not really fair.
Is it
Especially
or
if
is
it's
it
your
not?
other businesses. You're not the thing about a monopoly that's illegal is using your monopoly power to help other shit out. That's why Microsoft got in trouble.
Well, it's not
they
just
used their
help.
Windows monopoly to boost
Scott,
IE.
it's not just helping. It's a little more narrow than that. They have to provide a specifically unfair competitive
Right, so
advantage.
if Google ranks all YouTube results way high and downranks other video sites' results like Vimeo, that's an unfair advantage to YouTube if, the Vimeo video is actually better for the same search query. But you
Except-
can't prove that they're not because the
Well, except
algorithm
Scott,
is a secret.
search for videos on Google Video Search and search for videos on YouTube. There's a reason why no one uses Google's video search, because the results are not nearly as good as the YouTube results.
No, yeah, but I'm saying if you do a search period just in regular Google, sometimes videos are results,
Yeah.
right? So what if there's a Vimeo video that's a better result and it's getting downranked? You wouldn't even know.
Yep.
So
But at the same time,
even if Google is not doing that, they're not
personally,
proving they're not doing that.
I
So
don't
if-
think there's a moral problem there because I just don't care.
So what? But people didn't care about Microsoft busting up IE. I don't think it is a moral problem. But
Actually,
there
a
is
lot of people cared a
problem.
lot about that. Very
There's a
weirdly.
there's a legal problem there, right?
And actually, I thought that busting the IE thing up was actually the worst possible way to go about that. Like, I think that was a mistake.
I think it was a mistake because IE, the web browser, was a free product. It wasn't even a business.
Exactly.
But
Also,
the video is a business.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like with technology like search results, really, the only way anyone should ever evaluate search results is by whether or not it achieves their personal goal. And frankly, if someone doesn't care that the search results are skewed, I don't care either.
But even if you don't care that they are, it is still, it could even be on the level of racket, right? To where Google's basically like, you want to get a search result, eh? Better pay protection fees.
Except they don't have any business that lets you do that.
They don't, but, for all you know, they could be doing that. They could have partners, right? Not like a web, business that's on their site, but
Yep,
it's like
and
they
that-
could give preferential treatment to their partners, and
Yeah,
you
you know
wouldn't
what?
even know.
That activity, one, even if it were illegal, which arguably it probably actually isn't, could
Yep.
probably even still be caught through normal means without actually going after the search engine itself.
Sure, but it's still, we don't know. That's what I'm saying, is that because the algorithm is completely secret to anyone in the public, you basically, if you have a low rank, you assume, because you're a conspiracy theory-minded nut, that it's a
Yep.
racket. And if you have a good result, you're like, oh, okay.
But again, because it's technology, because it's relatively easy to compete with technology if you have superior technology, and it's primarily just software, there are plenty of other search engines.
That all suck.
Yeah. And, I mean, Bing pretty much gives you equivalent results. It's not really better or worse for what most people search for.
For normal searches, like, oh, I forget the name of that website, or what's the URL? I remember everything about this page, but I forget the URL.
Yep.
It's fine. But if you actually need to research something, good luck.
But I feel like technology-wise, I'm 100% okay with 100% black box searches, even if there's only one dominant provider. Simply because, one, SEO people don't deserve jobs.
Sure.
And two,
They're mostly dead anyway.
if the results are actually unusable or are causing an actual problem, it would be trivial to then start competing with Google. The only reason you wouldn't be able to compete with Google right now is because your quote-unquote on paper better search engine isn't actually better.
That's the other major problem, right? The Google, I was just saying how, someone with a tiny company in software at least, can easily just make a better technology and compete with big boys, just like Facebook competed with MySpace.
I mean, a lot of
Twitter
super
went
nerds
from
use
nothing
that.
to oh my god.
There's that DuckDuckGo search that all the super nerds
Right.
and 4chaners use.
But when the software of Google search is so ridiculously advanced that it would be it's the same reason no one can compete with Photoshop, right? It's just so hard to make any kind of competitor for that, right? The effort required, you could never catch up to them.
But what I'm arguing is that if they were providing results based on some shady cabal that had the effect of making the search results less useful, then someone, by simply making search results that were actually useful, would beat them. And if they're not making them less useful, then there's no
but
way
it's still a shady cabal.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Well, maybe they're still the most useful of all the search engines, but could be more useful, but they're not as useful as they could be, even though they're still the most useful.
But if they could be more
of
useful,
a shady cabal.
If they could be more useful, then there would be space for a competitor.
But that would be so difficult for the competitor to get into that space because Google is already so good. Like if Photoshop
That means there effectively
if
isn't
Photoshop
room.
just sat still and left room for improvement, and we started to catch up, and then they just moved a little bit ahead and always stayed one step ahead of us, and we couldn't catch them
Yeah.
just because they're so big and so awesome.
So
as opposed to what they're actually doing, which is update Photoshop constantly and stay way ahead of everybody.
Europe's answer to this perceived problem, which mostly rests around a lot of very specific and, in my opinion, really stupid complaints about the search results, are they want to break Google up because that's their solution to it.
Yes, I would like to break up a lot of European companies, too. The U.S. would love to break up Honda, Toyota, BMW, Volkswagen. Oh, wouldn't that be so great for all these American car companies? Just bust up all these European and Japanese car companies. They can be one company per car, the Camry company, the Corolla company. You can't share engineers with each other. Yeah, that'd be great. Every country wants to bust up other countries' shit.
BlackBerry released a new smartphone.
Wait, BlackBerry's still around?
Yeah, they have Passport smartphones now.
Okay.
They call them the Passport.
What does it look like?
I'm pulling up a picture of it right now. I'm trying to pull up a picture of it right now. Still trying to pull up. Wow, the BlackBerry sites. Here we go.
It's a square BlackBerry.
They're really fat. And they have a square screen.
Well, they're not fat thick. They're fat wide.
Fat wide.
But they're not tall.
No.
Even though they sacrifice.
Oh, no, look at that picture. That's still taller than my phone. That's really tall.
It's not that tall.
It's basically a tablet with a low-resolution screen and an awful-looking physical keyboard.
That looks like you can hold it in your hand.
That's not the news.
It's a one-handed
BlackBerry this is literally, as far as I can say, their last gasp.
Mm-hmm.
They will give you cash if you trade your iPhone in for a Passport instead.
What kind of iPhone?
A 4S, they'll give you $90.
No, I could just get that on
An
the internet.
iPhone 6, they will give you $400.
I spent more than $400 for my iPhone 6.
Yeah, so basically, they'll give you less than market value in credit toward their Passport.
What are they going to do with my iPhone? Sell it on the internet on Craigslist?
That's what I'm wondering. If they give you money...
Are they going to pay my cancellation fee at Verizon?
Yeah, it doesn't look like it.
You're not helping. So, also, why would you pay me to... You should... to downgrade, you need to make up for the difference. You need to give me money equal to the value between the quality of the
Scott, they'll give you $90
and the quality
plus
of the BlackBerry.
$150.
You need to give me, like, the $1,000 that makes up for the quality difference between the two phones.
So basically, they're going to buy iPhones for under market value from people to get them to use their BlackBerry Passport and then, I guess, resell those iPhones on the secondary market.
You should just give people BlackBerries for free, make them run Android or some shit, but you have the ability to make hardware, good hardware. You know you have that ability.
I don't think they do anymore.
Make the best Android phone that exists because it's not hard to make. Try making a small one. You'll put it out there, and your brand still means something. You could, if you made a high quality,
I don't think their brand means anything, Scott, among people under the age of 48.
If they made a high quality, small stock Android phone, which any of these phone companies could do, but none of them do, they could make a comeback. Instead of trying to be BlackBerry, just don't be who you are anymore, because who you are is bad.
They're definitely not capable of that.
They're capable of it. If I was the CEO of BlackBerry, I could make it happen.
Yeah, the features include extra loud speakerphone, 350% louder than the Samsung Galaxy S5.
That's a feature they've always had.
Yeah. The features of BlackBerry basically scream, literally, I am old.
I am designed by an old man.
And I am for old.
But that tells me the person who made that phone is so old, their hardware skills must be incredible.
Maybe.
They can make a really tiny, awesome phone if only I was telling them what to make.
So let's get this straight. BlackBerry is basically saying, if you translate this advertising thing, our phones are so shitty, we have to pay people to use them.
Yes.
Or give us your iPhone so we can then resell it for a profit on the secondary market.
Or, man, we're stuck with a warehouse full of shitty BlackBerries. Maybe we can trick people to trade them for much better iPhones.
Oh my God, it gets even better. You don't actually get a credit. You pay the full price of the phone, and you get a Visa prepaid card with the credit on it. Wow.
Okay.
I'm amazed that if this company should really just take all
anyone done this? You know who's done this? Someone who stole an iPhone.
Yup.
That's who's doing this. Basically GameStop. All right.
Wow, the Passport costs $600.
Listen, tiny phones are expensive. It doesn't matter who makes them.
It's not that tiny.
There's hardware in there that costs a lot.
The Sony Z3C is only $640.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe $540.
Listen, regardless of how well designed your phone is or what software is on it, the pieces inside are expensive, regardless of how you arrange them.
Yeah. What's the iPhone 6? If you buy it completely contractless and unsubsidized, is what, like $750?
Just add up the price of all those parts separately, then add on the cost of the factory that puts them together and the labor and the testing, and any phone that's modern is going to be $600-700.
So things of the day. I got two tiny little things.
Mm-hmm.
So Russian darts.
Mm-hmm.
This is just Russian darts. Just watch this video. It escalates to the appropriate humorous point and then stops. So my other thing, Scott and I talked about this a long time ago, but the videos from 2005, before we started doing Geeknights publicly. So it doesn't appear that we've ever actually used this as a
This
thing
might
of the
even be
day.
older than 2005.
From Tom's Hardware, February of 2005.
It feels older, but that's fine.
Uploaded in 2006. This was uploaded to YouTube.
I remember downloading this video, in video file format before YouTube was a thing.
This
right?
was uploaded by some guy.
This exact video, I have the files for it.
So the
somewhere.
video, nowadays computers are a lot more sophisticated, but this was a time where if you took the heatsink off of a CPU, the magic smoke would come out in many cases, especially with AMD chips, before you finished taking the heatsink off.
Well, this was like the era where we did the most computer building in late college, right? With Pentium 3s, Pentium 4s, AMD Athlons.
Yep, right up pretty much from the K7 800 up through like the Thunderbird era.
Right. So basically the deal is that if you took the heatsink off an Intel chip, the Intel chip would go, "Oh my God, I'm hot," and it would just stop at doing anything because it was too hot. The AMD chip was dumb as a brick and would go, "Keep doing stuff," and then set on fire without the heatsink.
Now, keep doing stuff. It had a couple of milliseconds of keep doing stuff.
Listen, it doesn't take that long.
Yeah, like Intel Pentium 3 1000.
The Pentium 4 was even more advanced. It would stop processing, and if you put the heatsink back on, as soon as the temperature went down, it would start doing stuff again.
It's just amazing to watch that all the Intel chips, like the game just crashes and then the chips are pretty much okay. And all the AMD chips, you take it off and like smoke just starts billowing out of the chips immediately.
So now this is something that most people would never even encounter because they don't take their heatsink off their CPU ever. So it doesn't seem like a worthwhile feature to pay for. But it's little things like this that are the reason why I stick with Intel over AMD to this day. The reasons like this are the reasons why I stick with NVIDIA over ATI to this day.
Now, it's partly
even
anecdotal.
if those other companies make up for it, and this is only one example. I'll give you another example, right? So this is a very tiny thing that most people will never notice. We had built an HTPC, the first one we built, and I had an ATI GPU
Oh,
in
yeah,
there.
because it had that S-video port on the back.
Right, I had an ATI GPU in there, ATI video card, and we plugged in an S-video cable. And when you turned the computer on, you couldn't see anything on the screen. It wasn't until the OS loaded and the driver loaded that it showed anything on the TV. It would only output to the VGA port when you turned the computer on. But with the NVIDIA video card, doesn't matter if it was the VGA, S-video, or whatever other video port on there, you could see the BIOS posting on all those video outs. A very small feature. Almost no one would notice that, but it makes a big difference if you're trying to set up an HTPC. And I'm sure maybe these things have been fixed in more modern
Yeah, and a lot of these
hardware.
things are anecdotal. Like, it just so happened that
one particular card we had, right, that we happen to have, that cheapo one, right? I'm sure. It might not even be the GPU's fault. It might be the card maker's fault in that case.
But it shows something else, too. People seem to, nowadays, it's really easy to build a computer.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, back in the day, like, if you put the wrong RAM chip in a computer, you might literally ruin the CPU and the RAM chip.
Yep.
You could mess up installing a computer in non-obvious ways. And when I used to build computers, like, the first time you post it, you turn it on, there was the crippling fear that it wouldn't post. Because if that happened, nowadays, usually that just means, you forgot to plug something in.
Mm-hmm.
Or power supply is not powerful enough. In the old days, it was even odds that meant you broke something.
You're fucked.
You ruined something, and there's no way to tell what.
Yep. But yeah, it's little things like that just, I've seen throughout history, the reasons for certain brand loyalties, and they have never steered me wrong so far. And when I had AMDs for a long period of time, I have like a bunch of AMD CPUs. Why do I have so many AMD CPUs? Oh, that's why. That's why I don't have as many Intel CPUs, because they didn't fuck up and never had to be replaced.
Yep.
Why do I have a bunch of AMD power supplies? Oh, that's why.
Well, part of that, too, is that the curve of power, like the Pentium 4 was way expensive for how fast it was.
Yep.
So the K7s came in. They're like, yeah, we're way faster and way cheaper.
You're faster like the way a hot rod is faster.
Yep.
But leaving fire all over the ground.
And you know what? It wasn't until, like, past the Core 2 Duo that I was like, yep, Intel.
The Core 2 Duo is when Intel retook the throne.
Yep. And now,
and
like the
remained
Core,
in it.
like the i5, i7, like I can't imagine buying a non-Intel CPU.
I would like to see someone make one that I could believe in, but no one has.
Should we break them up? Are they monopoly?
They are, but they're not using their monopoly power.
How do you
to
know?
Any evil
How do you
effect.
know?
What are they doing with their CPU monopoly?
Maybe they're using that to monopolize engineering resources that no one can
An
ever...
example of something Intel could do is be like, you know what? We're going to make our Intel CPUs such that the only OS that will run on our computers is Intel OS. Fuck everyone else.
Nah.
Fuck you, Microsoft. Fuck you, Linux. Fuck you, OS X. Everyone has to use Intel OS now or use some other CPU. And you think everyone's going to use some other CPU? Because there isn't one.
Remember the Alpha chips?
DEC Alpha?
Yeah.
Those are not for normal people.
Yeah,
those
there was
are
a time.
That's way earlier.
You
than-
used to be able to run Windows on that shit.
That was a ridiculously long time ago.
Yeah, it was.
It's not even relevant.
So you got a thing of the day.
I do. So there's a thing I learned about called mispronounced incoming Schlerin optics. So I still, even after reading Wikipedia and a whole bunch of different documents and watching YouTube videos, I only marginally understand how this works. Basically, with the combination of a point light source that's really bright, a razor blade, the kind you shave with, a big awesome mirror, and some other reflecting type things, you can look into the mirror and actually see, right, basically the density of air. So if you look at like a lot of the example videos, someone will be like lighting a candle or, doing, blowing a fan, something that like, heats up the air, or maybe an ice cube, or, something that makes air have different refractive indexes. And then you look into the mirror and it's like, whoa, you can see. And as soon as you see what this looks like, you're like, oh, I've seen that before somewhere. That sort of effect. Well, it's called Schlerin optics. And if you read, maybe you can figure out how it works better than I can. It's the razor blade is the really confusing part.
Yeah. It's like when I was in high school physics and we were learning about polarization and, quantum stuff. And the teacher did the experiment with the strange attractors. Like he puts a polarizer. Then he puts another one, and now there's no light going through it. Then he puts a third polarizer between the two, and light came through again. And I was like, what the fuck? And then it took him the entire class to actually explain it.
Right. So, here's some videos of this Schlerin optics that you can watch for awesomeness.
In the meta moment, the book club book is Watership Down, the classic tale of rabbit adventure, rabbit cultists, and rabbit fascists.
How about the next book club book, which is Fire Car Up?
Yeah, Scott, I'm done with Watership Down. I read it.
Isn't it like a kid's book? I'm sure it won't take me long.
It's 413 pages.
That is much longer than I expected. What's the font size?
The first edition, so normal like book from the 70s, was 413 70s book pages.
Oh, well, I have it on Kindle, so I'm going to get reading, I guess.
Yeah, I really liked it. Also, I need you to give me a link so I can actually post it.
Why do you need me to give you a link?
So we get money if you click on it and buy it. I need the referral
Our
link.
secrets.
Yeah. So guys, if you want to support Geeknights, buy the book.
If you buy a book club book and you click the link that is on our site when you bought that book, it is an Amazon affiliate link, and we get a ridiculously small amount of money if you do that.
If you buy other things in that same session, we also get some money.
It's also a ridiculously small amount of money.
But if you're gonna buy a couple of HD TVs and a new computer, might as well buy Watership Down along the way.
Also, make sure to go to smile.amazon.com so
Yep.
that money will go to the charity of your choice, which cannot be us.
Yes.
I wonder if it's possible to get an affiliate fee and the Smile charity at the same time. Or is it just the affiliate fees that go to the Smile charity?
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
I was never quite
My
clear on how
Smile
that
charity
works.
keeps changing between Creative Commons and Child's Play, and I can't keep it under control. It keeps wanting to switch around, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Actually, I was looking into Child's Play has launched a thing where we can set up an account that is an event runner account, not just a donator account. And basically, you don't even really need a lot of permission. We can do any arbitrary event, and there's just a widget we put, and the widget, it just credits us like, yeah, these guys caused that donation to happen, but otherwise we don't even touch the money. It just goes straight to Child's Play. So if you can think of a cool thing that you would donate money for me and Scott to do, we will consider doing some sort of live stream where if you keep putting money in, we'll keep doing that thing. Maybe a DDR-a-thon? I don't know.
I do not think we would survive a very long DDR-thon.
Well, you know how Desert Bus works, right? You
keep
pay,
switching off?
No, people switch off. And
we increase the price of doing another
yes,
song?
The money
We
it
should
takes,
also multiply by the number of feet in the song.
Ooh.
Oh, you want us to do, drop out? All right, well, it's going to be like a bajillion
You're going to give
dollars.
$1,000 to Child's Play? Okay, Rim will do Dropout. And then, oh, look, Rim passed out because he's an old man. He can't DDR anymore.
Oh, max 300? Yeah, that'll be the rest of the money we're trying to raise.
Yeah, you know what, old man Rim? I think I am physically incapable of passing max 300 on Maniac at this point.
I am definitely.
I did it once. There was a time when I could barely do it. I don't think I can move my feet fast enough to do it. I think I literally cannot dance DDR like that anymore. It's a sad day to be this old at 32.
Don't get old.
Don't get old.
Too old.
So, I needed a new computer for work, and the CTO was like, you can't waste the time building a computer. Just buy like a Dell or something.
Right. So what I did for work usually when I needed a new computer is I either got a Lenovo ThinkPad, which now is no longer the greatest option, or I got the Dell Optiplex. The Dell Optiplex, which I had at my previous job, is just a normal old desktop-y, tower-ish computer that comes in like 4 different sizes. But the one thing about it is that when you open up the side, which is actually surprisingly easy to open for a Dell computer, the things arranged inside are very, very nicely arranged. And it was actually quite easy to put in a video card and other modifications I needed to make when I had one. So that was like 6-7 years ago. I don't know what's changed since then.
Plus, also, as we talked about on a previous Monday episode of Geeknights, none of those pre-built computers give you the kinds of options that you actually need, like multiple hard drives.
Well, sure, but it's like, because it was so easy to open, it's like I just bought the stock one that had the right CPU and the right amount of RAM.
Yep.
And then the video card I just bought on Newegg, right? That kind of stuff.
So I bought the Newegg iBUYPOWER desktop Intel configurator PC.
Oh, so one of those configurators, and then
Yep.
What the hell is iBUYPOWER?
So I actually tried to figure that out, and I can't. So I think it's a separate company. Maybe it's the company that bought Newegg or bought part of Newegg.
No one bought Newegg.
You don't know a lot about Newegg's internal stuff, do you?
I don't know, but I went to the iBUYPOWER website, and that seems to be a website where you can configure a computer, and it's actually a really powerful configurator that lets you configure, a lot of details of the computer, except they put it together for you instead of you having to build it, and they give you a lot of good options that, Dell and other people don't give you for desktop computers, even laptops also. But then if you go to Newegg, there's an item that you can buy on Newegg, which is the iBUYPOWER configurator built into Newegg.
Yep.
And you order through Newegg, and it's very strange.
So there's a lot of weird relationships between Newegg and a lot of other companies, and I really can't figure out what Newegg's full deal is.
iBUYPOWER is definitely smaller than Newegg.
Quote, on September 28, 2009, Newegg filed for an IPO.
Yep.
The filing stated Newegg had been profitable, blah, 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 blah.
Where's the IPO? I want in.
In 2011, the company withdrew its registration for filing an IPO.
No, bring it back. I want it.
I don't know if I would invest in them.
I would buy Newegg.
So, anyway, Newegg is the place that, we always talk about, like any show like this, Geeknights, anything, we'll always say, oh, gonna get a computer? Go to Newegg, buy all the parts.
Once you know, you Newegg.
However, a lot of times, a friend of ours, a listener, a mother, a grandmother, a coworker who is not in your inner circle of friends will say, hey, Rem, you know a lot about computers. What computer should I buy? That's the voice of someone who isn't me.
Well,
asking me a
nowadays, my advice is if you are not doing media production, gaming, or coding, why do you need a computer? Yeah, okay, philosophically, you should still get a real computer such that you will have the ability to do those three things if you so desire, or, your horizons will not be limited by having, a less powerful device, and maybe having that more powerful device will open new worlds to you. Like when I bought a fancier camera, I thought I might have been throwing my money away. But actually, because I got the fancy one, I started caring about cameras more. Maybe if I make this person get a fancy desktop, they will care about computers more, and it'll be good for them.
But
honestly,
yeah,
just get a fucking iPad. You don't need a real computer anymore. The end.
Yep, and the main reason
if you're
for
a
me
normal person
is that if someone asks you what computer should I get, and they follow your advice, they're gonna call you when anything goes wrong with that computer for the rest of your collective lives.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a result, I am very hesitant to recommend basically any technology to anyone that I know who isn't like a listener of Geeknights and I'm just talking at you and you can't respond to me and don't know my phone number.
These days, I tell people to get an iPad, and if they need a real computer for some reason, but they don't need like a real computer, get the Surface Pro. I mean, it's a real for reals laptop that's totally modern and supported, and it's actually probably one of the best Windows laptops you can get.
Though, depending on the person, I might suggest that they get an old ThinkPad Lenovo like X230.
If you don't need like the newest CPU and like it's not going to matter, why not get an older but still brand new ThinkPad?
Yep.
I have a 220 for myself and a 230 at work, and they're both just fine.
Yep, I got a 230 for myself, and a coworker has a 240, and I looked at it, and it's not better.
Nope.
And in fact, it's worse in a few material ways. So I think the first thing you got to do is, like, you said, just tell them about an iPad. You have to get them to answer a simple question. What are you going to use this computer for?
Mm-hmm.
And like your parents when asked for a new computer, like
I'm like, what do you do with it? You just visit websites. The iPad does that.
Yep. And then depending on their answers, unless they trigger a thing that requires a computer, just tell them to buy the iPad.
All right. So the one thing they said that was valid somewhat is there's some websites they go to. You might need to fill out a form or do something on some website, and the iPad browser doesn't cut it. You're going to need a desktop browser just to do a thing that requires a desktop browser.
Nope, that is true.
So you know what you can get for that? A Chromebook.
Nah.
Right? It runs real Chrome, and it can do things on real legit websites you need to do like that.
But like if someone says, oh, I type a lot of stuff, like I type a lot of emails.
You can get a keyboard and connect it to your iPad.
In fact, when we were at the beach, Emily was typing a big chunk of her novel on a Bluetooth keyboard synced to her iPhone.
There you go.
That totally worked in Google Docs.
Why wouldn't it work?
Yeah, exactly. I think part of the problem is that a lot of these people, meaning most people, they don't really understand the idea of modular interchangeable. Like if they hear Bluetooth, everything that supports Bluetooth supports Bluetooth.
Well, I mean, I told my parents like a whole bunch of times. Like my mom was like, I want a bigger screen. I'm like, just connect your iPad to the TV. How can I do that with an Apple TV or this $50 cable? $50 is a lot less money than an entire computer. And she didn't really understand what I was talking about until I connected my iPad to the TV and she saw it and she was like, oh. It's like they don't understand the words that are coming out of your mouth. They have to see it to understand it.
So the questions are, do you need it to be portable? Do you want to play games? Do you
modern games?
Yes. Do you create
the newest games?
Do you create anything?
Video, audio, code,
significant amounts of text,
photos, editing, as opposed to just immediately uploading direct from your phone to Facebook.
Yep. So if I decide that someone needs an actual desktop computer for whatever arbitrary criteria, I'm pretty much just going to point him at this iBUYPOWER desktop configurator because the thing I got in my office is fine for what it is. It was put together like inside. It was really sparse because it's a big case, mid-tower. Tiny little ITX like motherboard in there. And everything was wired correctly. And it was wired reasonably well because actually today I was typing.
Some guy who does nothing but wire computers all day was doing that.
Yeah.
It's like when I wire a computer, I've been doing it for years, but I've only done it like 10, 20 times total. I do a pretty good job. But if I had to do that and nothing but that all day, my wiring would be a work of fucking art.
You should have seen when
You'd be like, where are the wires? I'd be like, where are they indeed?
My one job I had back when I was the guy.
You had
what
one
went,
job.
When I went and fixed fucked up situations back when I worked at the hospital. One time they sent me to a data center and they're like, there's a rack and we don't know what the deal with it is. And I was like, that's really vague. And they're like, just go deal with it. So I go, and I was surprised I didn't find a dead body inside of that rat's nest of cables.
Why is it always a rat's nest? Why can't it be something else nest? There's got to be something worse than rat's nest.
Hobo nest. New York City hobo nest.
Why can't it be like jellyfish legs?
Jelly. I thought you were going to say jellyfish nest.
Oh, a whole bunch of jellyfishes?
Yeah, that might be worse. Snakes. It was just to see if snakes. It was a mating ball.
Why did it have to be snakes?
It was a snake mating ball.
There you go.
So, yeah, it was
Snake Mecca.
18 1U servers in the same rack with some network equipment and everything. And let me tell you, I spent an entire workday rewiring that thing.
Were the lights blinking?
I just turned everything off because fuck them.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Remember that job. It wasn't like, go figure this out and deal with it. And you got to be careful and where the job was fix it. We don't care how. I was like the bad cop. Like they'd send me in to, take care of business.
It was a hospital. You might have killed somebody.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure those servers were being used by nobody for nothing.
And why just turn them off and rip all the wires out?
Well,
throw the wires in the trash and leave.
So I actually didn't turn them back on because I was waiting to see if a ticket arose anywhere in the hospital asking about them. But then I quit, so I never found out. So it didn't matter.
Yeah, for anyone who needs to know, the way to rewire a big mess like that, when you have things that are just connected to each other and not to other random places, is you basically find one port on one machine, right next to it with a Sharpie, like 1. Find the other end of that wire on the other port, right next to that one, 1, and then take the wire out. And then do that until you've written numbers next to every single port, and then get all new cables and make them nice, going from 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3,
I
etc.
actually preferred the functional result, where instead I would simply look at each port and figure out what does this port need to do. And I wouldn't redo it on a one-to-one basis. I'd redo it on a logically equivalent basis.
How do you know what the port needs to do? I mean, if it's just like a switch and it doesn't matter, it's like any of these can go to any of those.
Most of them are Ethernet. All I do is just figure out if they had to be on special VLANs or anything stupid like that.
Yeah. But sometimes it's like, this one has to go there.
Yeah, one of them were these like 40-foot null modem cables plugged into these like jank-ass serial ports.
Right.
And they went under into the raised floor and disappeared. And if I tugged on them, they were completely taut.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't unplug them. Like
someone at some point in time set that up.
I suspect the rat
I
got
wish
moved.
I was there on that day to see what was going on.
The best part is that project, the one with the serial cables, failed, and like that whole project was a disaster and collapsed. So I never figured out where the other end of that serial cable went.
Just cut it.
We did. We cut the heads off as deep as we could get to them and left it with a little flag on the end that said, basically, it was a code that meant this cable is not used for anything. If you ever find the other end of it, you can throw the whole thing away.
No, you can just go to every machine in the whole data center, cut all of them, and then when you pull all the ends, none of them should be taut. You should all come out with half cables, right, on every end, and then you can put them all in one bin.
So anyway, seriously, I knocked this thing over today at work. The whole computer. Facing forward, so the motherboard was on the top, so it just fell.
You kicked it? It was on the floor?
I just like leaned back and kicked it the wrong way, and it just fell over.
Okay.
And
it's fine.
It was totally fine. Nothing came loose. So it was correctly put together. And my advice to anyone who needs to buy a computer is just go here, choose options that match your maximum budget, and click add to cart. It'll be fine. There's not that many options.
Yeah. And and the thing is, there's a lot of people who are still into the nerdery of like overclocking.
If you're into that nerdery, build a computer from scratch.
Obviously, but there are some nerderies that I think just need to die, and that is one of them.
I'm thinking about overclocking my laptop.
Why?
Because the Elgato encoding, if the CPU is less than 3.02 gigahertz, it cannot encode in real time 1080p 30.
You have the extremely rare, somewhat legit use case, but your laptop might explode. Why not just buy another laptop? You have money.
Because at this point it's cheaper, I could just buy another computer and make that
I
the
guess
streaming
because
box.
you can afford to just buy another computer, why not overclock this one? If it explodes, you'll just buy a new one.
The thing is, I need to overclock
And if it doesn't, you just saved yourself a bunch of money.
I need to overclock it so little because it runs at 2.96 gigahertz now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the thing is, like, I tested, like, I ran profilers and I like watched and I'd encode different video. And it was amazing because 1080p 30 was going fine on a static, simple to encode image. But then I took the camera and went woo, 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 and the CPU went max. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, most people who aren't encoding live streaming video with a laptop, right? It's like, even if you're playing games, the newest possible games, even the most ridiculous hardware they sell doesn't do anything that it's like you can still, I have a 680. I'm still maxing out literally every game that Steam has to offer.
Well, no, it goes to show that the fact that it's almost 2015 proves something that we said back in 2005, that if you're a nerd about computers, you can overclock to extend this further, but if you invest in a high quality, well-researched computer and you buy top of the line or second top of the like plateau line components and you overspend I spent like $3,400.
Yeah, that 680 was $500.
I spent well over $3,000 on the computer.
I
that
do
we're
have
doing
32
Geeknights
gigs
on.
of RAM.
Yeah. But listen, seriously, in 2009, the computer I'm using now, I bought for a bit over $3,000. It is 100% sufficient to do Geeknights, edit HD video and 4K video live, and do everything that I do with the computer, including playing super modern games today. And I have spent a total of $500 upgrading it in the entire life of it so far. $600. I bought a new SSD yesterday.
Since I made this computer, which is pretty much around the time the 680 came out, so years ago, it has not needed any modification or upgrading whatsoever, and it is still effectively perfect, as fast as any computer anyone could possibly need.
I found a use case. I kind of need more RAM.
I have 32 gigs,
Yep.
so how many do you have?
So I have 12.
Now you need more.
But
At work, I had 4, and
Scott?
I needed more, so I went up to 8, and now I'm only using like 5 at a time.
This computer has 6 DIMM slots.
Oh, okay.
That's because I bought an
Do you have
awesome
6
motherboard.
times 2?
No, I don't actually. I do have room to put more in.
No. Okay.
But the use case I ran into where I needed more than 12 was I was using an effect in Premiere. And I couldn't play it back live. It was one of those effects that, like, even with the CUDA rendering, like, you just can't. Because it was an effect that basically, I figured out what it was doing. It analyzes all the frames, so it takes every frame into memory to do a calculation on the full set of the frames. And that's how it figures out what to do to all the frames. So you need enough RAM to hold the entire set of frames that you've selected for the effect in memory to render it at all. Now, with Adobe Media Encoder, you can render it and it'll deal with it. But if you want to do a preview render or you want Premiere to render it itself, my RAM just went up and up and up and up and up and up and up.
Well, you
and
can
up.
do that for the preview, right? You can tell it, when I preview, only preview like every other frame. Don't preview all the frames.
Not with this effect. This effect you didn't have that option.
Yeah.
It wasn't the display.
You can also preview at half size.
That wouldn't have helped.
So that each frame takes up half as much space.
Yeah, that doesn't affect the rendering of a preview.
Okay.
As opposed to the live playback preview. Anyway, I ran into a case where maybe 24 gigs of RAM would be useful.
Yeah,
compared to 12.
I think for a normal person, even today, where RAM is so cheap, you think, why not? The reason I have 32, it was so cheap. Why not? But
I feel like 8 is a good default.
Yeah, if you have 8, you're not going to run into any problems whatsoever with any normal thing. At work, I have a virtual machine always open. I got 2 browsers, which use the most memory of anything, always open, and a whole bunch of other shit, like Outlook and stuff. And I'm using 5 at most when I've got everything open.
This iBUYPOWER thing. Here are your options for RAM. Every option. 4 gigs of RAM.
Not enough.
That's just included by default. Add $40 to get 8 gigs of RAM.
Done.
Add $116 to have
insignificantly more money.
Add $116 to have 16 gigabytes of RAM.
That's more than you're going to need ever.
at $136 to have 16 gigabytes of G.Skill Ripjaws X Series RAM.
So no difference between the previous one whatsoever.
Let me look at the details. Maybe there's a slight difference
RAM is RAM. Don't fall for that nonsense.
Guess what? They're both PC 1280.
Yes, do not fall for like the fancy RAM. All RAM is RAM.
You know, I realized for all these years, me and most PC people say PC 1280. It's actually 12,800.
Whatever.
That's the rating. God, remember when cast latency mattered?
Yeah, whatever.
Remember knowing what cast latency was? Going for that cast 2 RAM?
No, I forgot what cast
instead of that cast
was.
3, it was the refresh ratio.
Whatever.
Yeah. But, yeah, I'll recommend this to anyone who wants a computer. Anyone who doesn't need a computer, I'll recommend an iPad. And if they want a laptop, either buy the cheapest possible laptop or a Surface Pro.
I recommend not buying the cheapest possible, right? The cheapest possible, like, gets the job done. It's sort of miraculous. Like, whoa, $200, I got this computer. It works. It does all these things. Hooray. The only problem with those, and I know a lot of people who buy them because they just can't afford to buy the good one and they need a computer now, is that they break. So as soon as you buy, and it's not like the sunglasses strategy, right? I'll buy $20 sunglasses, and if they break, I'll just buy more $20 sunglasses and it'll be fine. And it'll be the same as if I just bought $200 sunglasses once with less risk. If you lose or break your sunglasses, you can go without sunglasses until buying new ones. It's not really a big fucking deal. If your computer breaks, you need a fucking new computer immediately, like that moment. So if you buy a $200 computer, okay, that was all you could afford, great, but it's going to break. It's right? You get quality by spending at least, not more money won't necessarily get you more quality, but the good stuff is more expensive.
In my experience, the Asus crap tops and the Asus like just pre-configured even laptops, like
they're
desktops
all
and
garbage.
Things, they're way better than they used to be.
They're better than they used to be, but they're still not good.
I don't get the impression they break anymore. They're just way underpowered.
They're not just underpowered, but it's like they will not get the job done.
Well,
they will not last you the 5+ years that my computers that I own have lasted.
Those things don't buy you anything over an iPad.
That's also true.
That's the real answer.
But it's like you're not really saving anything by getting those, right? You're just basically, when those break, you need to go out and buy another thing immediately. And again, you'll only be able to afford another $200 dude. You're better off saving the monies, suffering with whatever you happen to have now, whatever it is, just suffer with it until you can afford at least the $500 or $800 dealie. And once you get that, you're actually going to save money no matter how poor you are.
Yep.
Because that thing will last you a fucking long-ass time. If a computer doesn't last you 5+ years, you did it wrong. I've never had a quality computer last less than 5 years. Usually more than 5 years they last.
Yeah, so here's a good example. My computer now, I spent a lot of money, even if I include upgrades, I spent a little over $4,000. $4,000, right? That seems like a lot of money for a computer. If I use it for the rest of next year, if I keep using it and it lasts until Christmas next year, Christmas 2015, and then I replace it, I'll have paid under $600 a year to have had a supercomputer for that entire time.
Yep. I mean, my computer was less than $2,000. I expect it to last at least 6 years, if not 8. If we go with the conservative estimate of 6, 2,000 divided by 6 years, right? That's saving a lot of monies there.
In fact, the Windows Experience Index on my computer is still... Oh, my RAM and processor hold it down now. 7.3.
I don't even know what mine is.
Yeah, 7.3.
Okay.
That's not too bad, actually, for a computer that I built in 2009. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.